entire history of human writing, there is one character that appeared only once. Not in the imperial decree of some great ruler, not in the works of Confucius or Laozi, but on a bronze object, a military signaling instrument cast in the south of China 2,600 years ago, belonging to a mysterious family called the Ran clan. That character is called Chuan. Today, every person who speaks Chinese uses this character every day. Taking a ship, an ocean liner, building a vessel. But no one knows that when this character appeared for the very first time, it was not merely a character. It was a mystery about a family, a forgotten history, and the most ancient catastrophe in human memory. The key to the riddle. Let me first tell you what this character is made of. The character Chuan, broken apart, has three components. The first, Zhou, a pictograph representing the shape of a small boat. This character already existed in oracle bone inscriptions more than 3,000 years ago. The second, Ba, the number 8, one of the most ancient numerals in Chinese. The third, Ku, a pictograph in the shape of a mouth. It also means person. Zhou, Ba, Ku. Modern philologists say this is simply a phonosemantic character, with as its phonetic component merely a record of a pronunciation. But when this character appeared for the first time in that bronze casting workshop, why did the leader of the Ran clan put Zhou and Ba and Ku together? Why not use the character Zhou that everyone else was using at the time? Why is it that in the pre-Qin era, every great maritime power in China, Wu, Yue, Chu, Qi, every one of them used the character Zhou, yet only the Ran clan only once created this different character? To answer this question, we must go back 4,500 years, to an era when the world had just emerged from the Great Flood. 2350 BCE, somewhere on Earth, something happened that changed the course of human history. Different cultures in different languages recorded the same catastrophe. The memory of the East. Let us first hear the Chinese record. The Shujing, China's most ancient historical document, opens not with the achievements of some emperor. It opens with water. The vast waters spread abroad in destruction. The people were inundated and overwhelmed. Mountains and hills were submerged. The flood rose against the heavens. Translating that into contemporary language, a sky-filling flood raged in all directions, its boundless expanse swallowing the hills, covering everything. The era of this flood, Chinese historical records call the age of Yao and Shun. The Great Yu spent 13 years controlling the waters, 3 times passing his own door without entering. This is one of the most familiar stories to the Chinese people, but few ever ask, how large was this flood exactly? Its reach extended far beyond the Central Plains, the memory of the West. At almost the same time, at the other end of the earth, another people also recorded a flood. Genesis, the most ancient chapters of the Hebrew Bible, contains the story of Noah's Ark. The floodwaters covered the whole earth. Only one vessel and the 8 people on board survived. 8 people. Remember that number. We will come back to it. The evidence of science. Now let us leave the documents and enter the laboratory. Modern genetic science has conducted DNA analysis of East Asian populations. Scientists measure mutation rates and calculate back through population history. They discovered something remarkable. Around 4,500 years ago, that is, around 2,500 BCE, the East Asian population experienced an extremely severe genetic bottleneck. What is a genetic bottleneck? It means the entire East Asian population once contracted dramatically, from a vast number collapsing to an extremely small group of survivors. Then from that small group, re-expanding to produce the more than 1 billion people alive today. That point of light, that tiny group of survivors, existed approximately 4,500 years ago. 3 clues, 1 era. Let me set 3 completely independent bodies of research side by side. China's Shujing records a sky-filling flood, dated to around 2300 BCE. The Bible's Genesis records the flood of Noah, calculated to around 2350 BCE. Modern genetics identifies the East Asian population bottleneck, dated to around 2500 BCE. 3 completely independent disciplines, 3 completely different research methods, pointing to the same era. This is not a coincidence. This is a global-scale catastrophe that truly occurred, leaving 3 different marks. And right in this era, a tribe called the Ran clan was living on the Central Plains. 2400 BCE to 2300 BCE. The 5 emperors era of Chinese history. The Yellow Emperor, Zhuan, Emperor Ku, Yao, Shun. Emperor Ku was the 3rd of the 5 emperors, the father of Emperor Yao, and the most important ancestor of the Shang dynasty. He commanded a tribal confederation. And that confederation was composed of 8 great tribes, the 8th tribe. The Tang dynasty genealogical text Yuanhe Xingzuan records, when Emperor Ku served as chief of the tribal confederation, his alliance was composed of 8 great tribes, among which was the Ran clan. The people of the Ran tribe have borne the name Ran across all generations. It is one of the most ancient of surnames. I need you to notice several things. First, the Ran clan has appeared. Among Emperor Ku's 8 tribes, one is called the Ran clan. Second, Emperor Ku's alliance was composed of 8 tribes. Third, this era is precisely the era of the Great Flood we just discussed. 8 tribes, the era of the Great Flood, the Ran clan. Remember the number 8, it will appear again. Now let me continue the Ran clan's story. This clan, which appeared among Emperor Ku's 8 tribes, went silent in the historical record for a period after that. Until approximately 800 years later, they appeared again. This time standing at the core of the most glorious dynasty in Chinese history. 1600 BCE to 1046 BCE. The Shang dynasty. This was the most glorious era of Chinese bronze civilization. The Shang people had a custom to cast clan emblems onto their bronze vessels. Like the heraldry of today's aristocracy, representing your family, your rank, your lineage. Archaeologists across China have found bronze vessels bearing the same clan emblem. That emblem is the character Ran, the meaning of 200. To date, more than 200 Shang dynasty bronze vessels bearing the Ran clan emblem have been identified. 200. You might think this is just a number, but let me tell you what this number means. Among all the Shang dynasty clans, those capable of leaving behind more than 200 emblem-bearing bronzes were only the highest tier of core aristocratic families. This means the Ran clan in the Shang dynasty was one of the most trusted core nobles of the Shang king, distributed across the nation. Even more remarkable is the provenance of these bronzes. Henan, the political heart of the Shang dynasty. Shanxi, an important Shang western stronghold. Shaanxi, the northern frontier. Shandong, the eastern coast. Hunan, the southern periphery, from north to south, from east to west. The objects of one clan distributed across the entire Shang domain. This was not an ordinary family. This was a great clan with nationwide influence. Marriage alliance with the royal house. In the oracle bone inscriptions, the records of the Shang king's divinations, the character Ran appears numerous times as a clan name. The Shang king personally divined regarding the affairs of the Ran clan. But the most important thing is this. The Ran clan held a marriage alliance with the Shang royal house. In the Shang political system, a marriage alliance with the royal house meant you had entered the very highest political core. The Ran clan were among the highest-ranking nobility of Shang dynasty China. Then, 1046 BCE, everything changed. 1046 BCE, the Battle of Muye. King Wu of Zhou led a coalition army and defeated the last Shang king at Muye. The Shang dynasty, after ruling the Central Plains for 500 years, fell in a single night. For King Wu of Zhou, this was a great victory. But for the Ran clan, this was a crisis of survival. 3 choices. Imagine you are the Ran clan patriarch in 1046 BCE. Your family has served the Shang dynasty for 500 years. Your ancestors married into the Shang royal house. Your clan emblem is cast across bronzes throughout the country. Then the new rulers arrive. You have 3 choices. The first choice, submit to Zhou, retain some land and status, but you will forever be a remnant of the former dynasty, forever second-tier nobility. The second choice, armed resistance. History records that Shang remnant communities resisted many times, the Wugang Rebellion, the Three Regents Rebellion. But every time, it ended in failure and slaughter. The third choice, migrate south. Enter the south, where Zhou control was weakest, and rebuild your family on new soil. What did the Ran clan choose? The answer archaeology gives. Archaeologists found the answer in Hunan. The Hunan Provincial Museum holds bronze vessels in the Shang style bearing the Ran clan emblem. Excavation site Hunan. The emblem Shang dynasty. The location, far to the south, outside the Shang core territory. The Ran clan chose to migrate south. They brought their clan emblem, their bronze casting craft, their memory of Shang royal ancestry, and moved south, deep into the Yangtze Basin, and took root there. A family's migration south was simultaneously the migration of a memory. For the next 400 years, the Ran clan fell silent in the historical record. But silence does not mean disappearance. On the lower Yangtze, they were doing one thing, generation after generation, living on the water. Generation after generation, accumulating a particular skill, navigating vessels, building ships, commanding naval forces. 585 BCE. 461 years had passed since the Ran clan's migration south. On the lower Yangtze, a state called Wu was rising. King Shuming of Wu took the throne, an ambitious ruler. What he intended to do, no one in China had done before. He intended to build a formal naval force. And the people he needed were precisely the Ran clan, the world's earliest systematic navy. The Yuejueshu records the face of the Wu naval forces. The vessels are named Dai, Great Wing, Xiaoyi, Small Wing, Tumao, Charging Ram, Loashan, Tower Ship, and Qiao, Bridge Boat. The Dai corresponds to the heavy chariot of the land army, the Xiaoyi to the light chariot. Let me convey the astonishing nature of this record. The Wu naval forces had a complete classification system for vessel types. Just as a land army has heavy tanks, light tanks, assault vehicles, command vehicles, the Wu Navy had Dai, Xiaoyi, Tumao, Loashan, Qiao, each with its own specialized tactical function. This is the earliest systematically recorded naval order of battle in human history. It predates the Greek trireme system. The Dai warship, a 91-man fighting machine. Let me tell you the specifications of the Wu Kingdom's main battle vessel, the Dai. Length, 27 meters. Width, nearly 5 meters. Crew, 91 persons, including 26 armed warriors, 50 oarsmen, 3 helmsmen. Weapons, 32 crossbows, 3,300 arrows, long hooks, spears, axes, full armor. This was a 6th century BCE warship. It was larger than any watercraft in the Central Plains. It was a chuan, not a zhou. Now you understand, zhou is the fisherman's tool. Chuan is the weapon of an empire. The Ran clan became the core force of this unprecedented Wu Navy. They led armies, campaigned against Zhou, crossed the great rivers. Their inscription declares, "I use it to lead the army in the field. I use it to levy and command the infantry. I use it to strike against Shang. I use it to strike against Zheng," that is, the state of Zhou. This is a clan's declaration of military achievement. It is also the prologue to a mystery. Let me take you to a particular day, the southern frontier of Wu, a bronze casting workshop. A craftsman is melting the copper. Orange-red molten bronze churns in the crucible. The craftsman's task is to cast a zheng, that bronze signaling instrument struck with a mallet. On the battlefield, beat the drum to advance, sound the zheng to halt. The drum means forward, the zheng means stop. When the zheng sounds on the battlefield, 1,000 troops must freeze instantly. The craftsman has prepared the clay mold. The inscription has already been carved. It was the Ran clan patriarch who decided what it would say, the decision. In the inscription, there is a point at which the Ran clan patriarch wishes to record their fleet. Everyone in the pre-Qin era used the character Zhou. The Wu naval forces were called Zhou Shi. All naval records used Zhou. But the Ran clan patriarch shook his head. He said, not Zhou. He said, use a new character. That new character had never been written before. That new character needed to be created. He chose 3 components, Zhou, Ba, Ko. Why these 3? The craftsman did not know. The craftsman only followed the instruction and carved them into the mold. Then the molten bronze was poured in. It cooled. It was opened. The first character, Chuan, in the history of human writing was born. 1 character, 2 layers. Modern scholars say this is just a phonosemantic character with the phonetic component, the direction of the reading yan. But I want to ask you a question. If it were only recording a pronunciation, why choose Ba and Ko? The component BA in Oracle Bone script is Ba, the numeral 8. The component Ku in pictographic script is person, life, existence. The logic of pictographic character formation is to draw what you see. A vessel, 8 people. How do you write that in pictographic script? Zhou plus Ba plus Ku. This character can simultaneously be phonosemantic and associative compound. The 2 readings do not exclude each other. But if it is associative, if the meaning of Chuan is a vessel with 8 people aboard, then at the moment of their greatest power, this family chose to cast that memory into bronze. The question is, where did that memory come from? Let me now set all the clues together. There are 5 independent clues pointing toward the same conclusion. Each clue, viewed on its own, could be coincidence. All 5 together becomes very hard to explain as coincidence. Clue 1, the overlap of timelines. Circa 2500 BCE, East Asian population genetic bottleneck, scientific discovery. Circa 2400 BCE, Emperor Ku's alliance of 8 tribes. The Ran clan is one of them. Chinese documentation. Circa 2350 BCE, Noah's flood, biblical record. Circa 2300 BCE, the Shu Jing's the flood rose against the heavens. Chinese documentation. 4 completely independent sources of evidence. 4 completely different research methods, pointing to the same era. The era of the Ran clan's existence was the era of the Great Flood. Clue 2, the number 8 running through everything. Emperor Ku's alliance was composed of 8 tribes. The Ran clan was one of them. On Noah's Ark, there were 8 survivors. The character Chuan is composed of Zhou plus Ba plus Ku. The number 8 appears in 3 entirely different contexts. The number of tribes in an ancient alliance. The number of survivors on Noah's Ark. The components of the character Chuan. You say this is a coincidence? Clue 3. Only the Ran clan, in the pre-Qin era, Wu, Yue, Chu, Qi, Every great maritime power used the character Zhou. No one had ever created the character Chuan. No other clan left the combination Zhou plus Ba plus Ku on a bronze vessel. Only the Ran clan, only once, only this one object. If this were merely an ordinary linguistic innovation, why did only the Ran clan do it, and only once? The exclusivity itself is a form of proof. Clue 4. No practical need. If the Ran clan only needed a character to describe their warships, Zhou was already sufficient. The entire Wu naval system used Zhou Shi, the great wing vessel, the small wing vessel. There was no administrative, military, or everyday need to create an entirely new character. Yet the Ran clan created one. If it was not practical necessity, what drove this decision? There is only one possibility, a memory that had to be recorded. Clue 5. The semantic precision of the fit. The last clue comes from linguistics. Noah's Ark. Many people know this phrase. But do you know that translating Noah's Ark using the character Zhou is actually imprecise? Because Zhou in ancient Chinese referred to a small boat. The Fangyan says, east of the passes it is called Zhou. The small waterborne craft of the Central Plains was called Zhou. Then a massive ark capable of carrying all the animals and withstanding a world-engulfing flood. What character should it be translated with? It should be Chuan, and the components of Chuan precisely correspond to the story of Noah's Ark. Zhou, a large waterborne vessel. Ba, 8 people. Ku, persons, life. Noah's Ark, written in Chinese, should be Chuan, Zhou, Ba, Ko. 5 clues, 5 independent arguments, pointing toward a possibility we cannot lightly dismiss. The Ran clan carried a memory of great water, 1 vessel, and 8 people. This memory was transmitted orally across their tradition, generation after generation, across 1,000 years. Until on the banks of the Yangtze in the Wu Kingdom, on the day they established the most powerful naval force in human history, their leader made a decision to inscribe that memory for the first time into writing, into bronze, into eternity. 1930, the antique markets of Beijing. A scholar named Luo Zhenyu purchased a bronze vessel. In his catalog notes he wrote, "This vessel I acquired in the capital. It was recently excavated. The original excavation site, unknown. Where it is currently held, also uncertain. It lies somewhere, quietly, bearing those 3 inscription characters. Bearing that character, bearing a mystery that has waited 2,600 years and still has no certain answer. What we know. Let me tell you what we can confirm today. We know the Ran clan were among the most central nobility of the Central Plains in the Shang dynasty, with more than 200 bronzes. We know that at the Shang-Zhou transition, a branch of the Ran clan migrated south into Hunan. Archaeology has confirmed this. We know that in the spring and autumn period, the Ran clan became the core force in the Wu naval forces, capable of campaigning in all directions. We know that in the pre-Qin era, everyone used Zhou. No one needed the character Chuan. We know that on the Zheng vessel cast by the Ran clan, the first character Chuan in the history of human writing appeared. What we do not know, why the Ran clan chose Zhou plus Ba plus Ku. What memory lay behind that decision? Where the Ran clan's earliest origins truly lie? A question for you. In our time, there are 4 completely independent disciplines. Ancient Chinese documents, the Bible, genomics, archaeology. Using completely different methods, pointing toward the same conclusion. Around 4,500 years ago, a great flood that nearly wiped out humanity truly occurred. A small group of survivors lived through that flood. Their descendants multiplied to become all the people on Earth today. And those survivors, carrying the memory of that flood, migrated to every corner of the world, including China. And in East Asia, one family on the afternoon when they established an unprecedented naval force on a bronze vessel, using 3 ancient pictographic symbols, Zhou, Ba, Ko. For the first time, wrote that memory into characters. We cannot be 100% certain. No honest scholar should claim this is a definite fact. But what I can tell you is, among all possible explanations, this is the one that most completely accounts for all the mysteries. All the mysteries, one character, 4,000 years, a memory that crossed civilizations. On a certain auspicious first day of the first month, the day Ding Hai, 2,600 years ago, the Ran clan patriarch watched his craftsman pour the molten bronze into the clay mold. He left no explanation. He left no account of why these 3 characters. What he left behind is only the character itself. Chuan, Zhou, Ba, Kao, a vessel, 8, people. 2,600 years later, it remains silent, but it is still there.